Hello JavaScript folks, this is exercise 7.3, the same as 6.3, but this time we're using jQuery only. This is the index file. Let's take a look at it. The only thing different so far is we have a JavaScript code from jQuery.com, which will allow us to run this program on the web and pull out the jQuery library automatically from this site. This one is called jQuery 1.8.3. There are several flavors of that link, but this one is an older one. Right now it's up to 1.9. And this is the JavaScript for this page, which is now comes blank from the book. The section is called categories. We'll be able to access most of this through this ID. The main title of the page is this, followed by these individual headings: web developer, Java, and so forth, .NET. Those are in H2s. We'll be able to access those that way. Followed by divs every time, which contain the links themselves. Notice we have the link of a book, and the href points toward simply the link for the image itself for the book. Above that is a UL with IDs, individual IDs, Java images, web images, which will also help us use or access these different links under these different categories. The main CSS has the settings for H2. H2 by itself is always going to have a background of this plus image. H2 has a class of minus, which will give it the minus image, but notice this time there is no plus class. The div by itself always never displays, and the div open, when you give the div an open class, then we can display it. That's about all that's different in this one. So let's start with writing the code in jQuery. Since this code should be roughly the same, at least at the beginning, as on page 221 for the fax application, we should be able to take a look at that code. So now here it is, and at least I was looking forward to using this toggle event, but no, it is no longer available. You see they have a message in here: the toggle event method has been removed from jQuery 1.9. Very unfortunate, because that looked pretty cool. So let's skip that one since it won't work anymore in the latest version. But they do give code that we can use instead, and this is the one. So I'm simply going to copy this for now, and we're going to paste it in our JavaScript source to start with. Let's see what that looks like. First, we can take out this comment, and it begins with calling the ID. Remember, the pound sign stands for ID, fax, which of course we have to change that. Let's see, we might as well move that to categories right now. And underneath categories, we know there is a bunch of H2s, and by placing it this way, jQuery will access every H2 element underneath the categories link. which you remember looks like this. Well, save the page. Let's see. Here's the section named ID categories, and we're going to pull out simply all these H2s underneath it in an array, as is explained in the book. So categories, all the H2s, and on click, with every one of those H2s, we start a function which is going to call this, because this will represent the element which is being pointed to at the moment the user uses it and clicks. And here's a interesting command from jQuery called toggle class, and we're going to use the name of the class, which is minus. Now toggle class, as explained in the book, creates a class called minus in that element only if it doesn't exist. If it already exists, it will take it out. So a toggle class adds the class minus if it's not there and takes it out if it's already there. That's all the toggle class will do. Which is fine. That's exactly what we want. Now we use an if statement to figure out at the moment if this element we are pointing to, if the attribute of that class happens to be not, exclamation mark, not equal to minus. If it is not equal to minus, then we want to hide the next element, which is right here. The div element is following the h2. We need to give it the hide again in jQuery, and otherwise, if the h2 element is showing minus, then that means we want to show the image, not the image, but the div element which contains all the links, by using this next show. So that looks pretty good. And remember, this function in jQuery, we're going to have to worry about these events which keep the function inside of their parentheses. So we open a paren right here, then we open a brace which needs to close at the very end here, followed by the parentheses of the event. And then they use these comments to remind us exactly where these parentheses belong. And this one is ending the click function. Very good. Let's go ahead and try that. We save it. I'm going to try it in Chrome. Refresh in Chrome. Click on one of those H2 and nothing happens. And I also have the JavaScript console going in Chrome, and there's no errors. Therefore, we have a logical error which is more difficult to find. So let's go back to the code and take a look. Now this one took me a little bit to figure out earlier. This code is missing an event to trigger initializing all the code that we presently have. And before we were using the window onload, and now with jQuery we get to use document ready. So document ready is an event. We open the event and we begin a function. We open a brace. No, first we have to put the parentheses for the function. Then we open the brace and we're going to close the brace for good form. And we're going to close a paren. And we're even going to leave a comment to say and ready. Good, so now we're going to save this and run and hope that this time the click will respond. Let's see, click, and there it is. We can click on these links and it will load up, of course, the image, not in the right place. So now we have the click on the H2 operating well. We need to set up what happens on the links. And before we can set up events on all these links, we need to collect them. We need to collect all the A tags just as we collected all the H2s. So this code is going to still has to be underneath the ready function. Therefore, at the end of this code, we are going to collect the A tags using very much the same code as we did before with the categories. Categories, this time space, and the A tag, quote, and this is going to be a click. Open the event function, parentheses, open the brace, close the brace, close the paren, and end a comment. Also, what I forgot to do is it's a good idea to also leave a comment explaining what's coming up in the next section, which is set up click events for the A tags. It's always good to remind ourselves about what we're doing for later on. So remember, so far, jQuery is going to gather all the A tags and set up what happens during the click on any of these. So let's refresh our memory. When we click on an A tag, what we need to do is collect the image location, which is right there in the href. We need to copy this address and we need to paste it in the aside section up above inside of the image source, which is now blank. So that's our job in the first line of code. So let's collect the href first. And the command for that is this. Since the user is not pointing at a particular A tag, what we're interested into the A tag is the attribute, and we're going to name the attribute, which is the href. So this so far should provide the address for that image, and we need to put this into something else. And that something else is an ID for the aside, which is going to be image. Okay, so we are going to collect that address, which starts with the pound sign, now that it's an ID and it's called an image. This gives us the linked in this aside, and we are going to pick on the attribute. And which attribute? The source this time. This is an image source attribute. We are putting this on the left side, and on the right side we should have in hand the image location. Let's see if that's true. Of course, this will not run yet, but at least we can see if we have an error so far. And refreshing, and there is an error on 18. And 18 shows that there is, first of all, forgot the comment. symbols, and also this line doesn't have a semicolon. So let's try this again, refresh, and this time there is no error. So now that we have moved the image location to the correct area, we can now show the aside, and this is done exactly the same way. $, image, and simply show in jQuery, and we try it. And it doesn't work yet, and one thing for sure that we have to do is to add this EVT. I think I did that just a minute ago. jQuery has a nice command we can add to this variable called prevent default, spelled this way, and we're gonna save it, run it again, and it still doesn't work. And with a little research, I found that this does not work. We cannot put this on the right and expect it to go in the attribute from jQuery on the left. What we have to use is the correct syntax for jQuery, which is to change to put value into an attribute. We use a second parameter for the value, and that value happens to be right here, this attribute href, and now we need one more paren on the right, and that should do it. Let's save it, refresh, and with the right syntax it works. Another important thing to do is to make sure that the image disappears when we click, and right now it doesn't. So let's think about this. We want the image to appear whenever we click on these links, but whenever we click on the H2 elements, we want the image to disappear whether the H2 element is expanded or contracted. So one way to implement this is to simply, whenever the H2 is being expanded or contracted, we can hide the image at that point. And we already have code here for show. So let me just take that, copy it, paste it, and we can say hide instead. And we'll do the same thing on the else. And that should do it. Save, refresh, open an image, try to close an H2, and it works. You can also open another one, and it will also hide it. Very well. The only thing that needs to be done with this code is to do the preload, and since the video is getting to be so long, I'm gonna quit it right there and hope you can figure out how to do that from chapter 7. Thank you very much, folks. Good luck.